is not a joke, right? So without any further ado, I would bring on the King of Japa himself, please. Round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Good morning, everyone. I hope we're having a pleasant Saturday. Um, so I think we are casting to other platforms. If you're just joining us, the meeting is recorded. People will be able to watch back, and we're going to be having these sessions every month. As I've said in my recent videos, the study abroad season is just about to begin. If you're a football lover, it's like we're in pre-season. Right after the August and September rush, the summer intakes begins the next calendar, the next cycle. So we're going to be talking about different things from visas for this summer cycle to planning for the January, May, and September 2027 intakes. All right. The essence of these sessions is to be able to share our experiences, what Nigerians must know. It looks more like we get more denials these days, that trend, even than the positive news. Every other day I'm seeing something on social media um, about going abroad, things that, are not so positive. Um, and so we'll discuss some of these things today, and we'll be happy to take your questions. So, Isaac, without further ado, let's go straight into our presentation. The essence of this conversation we've talked about is the study visas. Going into the August, September applications, what are the things that students need to know? What does the data say? And how do you begin to prepare yourself? I always start by saying that every study abroad cycle fits into the political terrain of both your home country or the country you're going into. Right now, Nigeria is in the third year of a political cycle, and the policies from that cycle has directly affected the visa landscape, the Japa landscape, as it were. From the announcement on the president's inauguration about the removal of subsidy, the visa rates plummeted just as the foreign exchange tripled. And so Nigerians are still dealing with the shock of that. But it's more than that, because just as we are part of the Commonwealth, Canada, Australia, and UK are part of the Commonwealth. They're part of the Commonwealth. The UK being the head of everybody. They practice a similar government style, the parliamentary style, or we'll say the royal and parliamentary style. And so because of this, you see that their policies begin to shift towards the same way. So with the UK, Canada, and Australia particularly, they seem to be in a cycle where their refusals are higher, where the policies just would not even make you a bit interested. For instance, in the UK, over the last 2 years, people have been dealing with the shock of you cannot come in with your spouse again. We had people doing everything to be able to go with their spouse. Few weeks relationships becoming common law partners just to be able to go abroad. So the UK, bridged that gap. And there's a reason for that. But this is not a policy class. Now, Canada has done the same thing. But because Canada has an aging population, the shock from their own side is such that if they needed 1 million people, they're now saying, okay, look, let's cut it into bits, right? And so by the time you have your FX and your country's policies, and you're matching it to what the countries that you're hoping to go to are going through, you then have a sharp decline in students who can afford to go, and obviously in the study permit outcomes for these particular countries. So this is just a bit of a summary of what is going on. Now we saw that Canada had different things going at a particular time when it looked like there was a high. We had things like Nigerian Standard Express. I remember that in that period we had gotten visas in 4 days, in 7 days. It was pretty straightforward, right? Luckily for us, they did not remove the GIC for Nigerians, so that still has helped organizations like us to keep our visa records to a better and respectable average, right? Because a 64% refusal means that the average of acceptance was 36%, right? And so it was a sharp decline. It's been like an undulating thing, but with the Nigerian Standard Express and GIC, it became a lot better, particularly, 2021, 2022, going to 2023. But, it's now been a sharp decline. We were as low as 16% in 2024, which was basically 1 year post our policy. And I always talk about studying abroad being like Planned Parenthood. It usually matures over a 9 months to 1 year period because you've got to apply, you've got to get an admission. If you're looking for funding, there's that. But if you're just going to apply for your visa, that takes some time to put your documents together, then obviously get your visa results. So this landscape changed, and this is some of the data that we currently have. Now, the UK is a bit different, but their refusal rates also have, climbed up for different reasons. They've become a lot more strict, whilst also a lot of more people have sort of, I wouldn't say lost interest, but we've been looking for different alternatives. Right. For us, we talk about how we've never been denied the UK study visa before because it's a pretty straightforward, visa process. People will still make the typical mistakes, right? But generally, the issues with the UK, is more now in the side of how do I get my partner there? What jobs exist in the city, that I want to go schooling? What's going to happen after my school? But again, in the first quarter of this year, we're seeing a lot of rejections, right? But the UK has now their 7th prime minister in 10 years. And a big part of the reason why there's a lot of visa denials is because there's been this constant conflict. There's a pending conversation about extending the amount of time it takes you from residency. The time is currently 5 years, but there are proposals now to increase that to 10 years. So that's still pending, right? There's also obviously enhanced financial scrutiny. How are you getting your funds? Things that they generally were overlooking before. Before we had students just dump some money for 28 plus days. We generally always have encouraged a 2-month bank statement just because, you want to play a psychological game. And people would, easily get their visas. But now there's a lot more questions. Even the CAS interviews with the schools are they are now becoming a bit more tougher, right? So just like Canada, who introduced the PAL at some point to be able to balance things, right? We understood what happened with the scandals, particularly with the ENIAT, and the government introduced stricter measures. The PAL basically is a document that mimics the CAS. And so this is how the visa landscape has changed. And so students must understand these things to be able to make decision that fits them. There's no reason why you want to get denied a visa, right? So I already began to touch on some of this, but why do your applications get rejected, right? Uh, Weak or recycled LOIs. Some people now use AI for their LOIs. Some people do not understand the basic things that are required for a visa officer. The reality is that when I started this business 10 years ago, we didn't even need to write LOIs past 1 or 2 pages. Many years ago, it was pretty straightforward. Now you sort of have to have a 6 to 7 letter uh, presentation for the visa officer trying to explain every bit of what the student's story is, right? So the LOI is the one thing that you have to present to a visa officer because it is not a physical one-on-one interview, right? Obviously, for me, Canada's problem for Nigerians is that when they would either say 3 months bank statement, 4 months, 6 months, obviously 6 months is what, has been advised for the better part of the last 4 or 5 years, is that people cannot explain the bulk sums or people just do not have the money that they see because a master's program is 2 years, an undergrad is at least 3 years, and proof of fund always becomes a problem. And because of the cost, it was always easy for students to put 1 month of, possibly a loan than, doing that for 4 to 6 months. Another thing, obviously, is unclear academic intent. Many of us want to go to Canada because there's a particular program that allows for PR, which is no, similar to what you already did in your first degree. And that obviously is always a big problem. Obviously, no ties to your home. What are you coming back for? Why did you take this course? Then ties to what you are coming back for. If you're going to do oil and gas in any country now, there's a simple sell of Dangote building the biggest refinery in Nigeria. Oh, sorry, not just in Nigeria, in Africa, and about to become the biggest in the world. So, obviously, there's also a non-compliance history. There's a track record of our students dropping out when they get there, seeking asylum, doing what I would call illegal activities, right? Now, for the UK, obviously, poor financial documentation is a pretty straightforward process. But sometimes with our inexperience, we still botch this, right? If you're not showing the proper bank statement with, the simplicity that it requires, either at an undergrad or postgrad level, then it becomes a bit of a problem. Isaac, can you go back to that slide, please? All right. Credibility concerns with the UK would be your courses. What did you do in your first degree? What are you going to do there? Not being able to explain that. Now, these ones are pretty much determined at sometimes at the caste level, right? If you don't have a genuine intention, and then obviously dependent restrictions, right? Only if you're going for a research program or at PhD level now would it be a straightforward process in taking your dependents to the UK. Now, we must also understand that unlike Canada, the UK is England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. And then because our intention is not just to get a good education, is to be able to work afterwards, students then begin to plot for cities that would offer them, decent postgraduate opportunities. And that also sort of affects the visas because immigration is also always looking at what's the balance for housing, what's the balance for the amount of students going to a certain area. That is an unspoken rule, but it happens also in Canada because particularly for Canada, there's still a housing deficit, right? Canada has been developed for a while now, but you would find that it's still a developing area. There's still a lot of arable land that is yet to be developed in Canada. Next slide, Isaac. So what has changed? So obviously, under the former Prime Minister's administration, the immigration policies were revamped after a ministerial retreat in December 2023. And they said that there was going to be a 2-year cap on the number of permits issued yearly, and it was going to follow incremental percentages and averages. And before the end of 2024, the Nigerian Standard Express, which was pretty much a very simple way for people to get in, that ended. Then, obviously, the new policy for proof of funds, right, where the country adjusted its living expenses and then raised by at least 100% the requirement for living expense. So the UK also last year had more enforcement on their immigration policies. So if it were Australia at this time, we would also be talking about how, Australia also adjusted its immigration policies when the new Prime Minister came into 2 years ago, right? So next slide, Isaac. So just to go straight into what is required for a study permit. These conversations, some of them are statutory, some of them are advised. You certainly have to find yourself a school that is designated learning institute. You've got to have a provincial attestation letter. You've got to show your proof of funds, right? You have to have a valid passport. I always advise Nigerian students when you're going abroad, just have a new passport that has at least 4 or 5 years. You don't want that hustle of thinking of going all the way to Ottawa, for instance, in Canada, to go and renew your visa or your passport. And sometimes if your passport is less than a certain period of time, the embassy would not give you your visa to meet your requirements. It would end with your passport and then you have to apply again, right? Letter of intent, academic transcripts, proof of home ties, and obviously when you submit, you need to go for a biometrics. What's the benefit of going to Canada? One of the benefits, just off the top of my head, I was in Atlanta with my friend for the World Cup, and he was sharing with me how he had been in Canada for, I think at that time, almost 14 years. He'd never gotten ill. And the time he had to go to the hospital, he was expecting that, okay, at the end of, he was going to pay some interesting amount of money. But unfortunately, for those of us who, are coming from Nigeria, we're not familiar with that system, or even if you are even from the US, unfortunately for Canadians, so long as you're a Canadian in good standing, you don't have to pay or should I say a resident, you don't have to pay for healthcare at all. But this is also why when you go to Canada, you need to pay for insurance, right? There's a requirement for you to pay for it because the government doesn't want any wahala. They are responsible for your healthcare. So first, they're responsible for your healthcare. Once you go to Canada, everything is free. If you give birth, it's free. You have any surgery, it's free. So those are some of the benefits. But you must also understand that you can only work for 20 hours during school. The postgraduate work permits, 2 to 3 years, depending on what you're studying. There's obviously a PR pathway. And then the processing time has also become a lot more better. Now, I don't know if it's because more and more people, need to plan better requirement, but there was a period where Canada was so backlogged. It was very difficult for us to be able to get responses on time. But now that has basically cleared up. Now you can get visas. We've gotten a recent visa, this month in 11 days, amongst other things. All right. So next slide. So what does the RICC want to see? We talk about this, and I'm sure you see this regularly. The school lets you know the living expense estimated is 22,895. Unlike in the UK, that will say, look, we have a different living expense when you're within London and when you're outside London. The RICC says this is what is required. Now, obviously, your first year tuition, as stated on your LOI, it's advised that you pay. It makes your life easier. Um, Return transport. Basically, part of what you are showing is that I have the return ticket funds already. So it's pretty much important that you understand what the embassy is looking to see in the proof of fund and how you calculate this amount, right? Now, if you are going to apply for a Canadian visa, because, like I've said earlier, you don't have an opportunity to explain to a visa officer, you're going to have to account for how much money is in your account, the source of the funds, particularly if there is any lump sum that you added to your account in that period. Next slide, Isaac. All right. For the UK, it's pretty straightforward as well. Once you get your admission from a licensed university or college, you get your CAS, Convention of Acceptance for Studies, which is the equivalent of a PAL, your proof of funds, tuition plus your living expense for 28 days plus, your valid passport, academic transcript, and obviously your medical test, which is generally a TB test for Nigerian. What are the benefits of studying in the UK? I would tell people compared to going to Canada, the UK allows me to be able to finish my master's or undergrad, undergrad or postgrad programs in a shorter period. It's 3 years in the UK for undergrad, and it's 1 year for most master's programs in the UK. That helps. The UK has all sorts of opportunities for postgrad, like um, being able to get student placement. So if I'm changing my course recently, over the last, I believe I would say 6, 7 years. So because of the digital revolution, you have a lot of students who are transforming their lives by moving perhaps from, like, if I'm in arts, maybe I'm studying English, or I did international relations, and now I'm going into like data, right? The UK schools have student placement that would help you to be able to get a job, an internship that allows you to be able to understand this new program that you're in for a period of time. I remember I had a friend who went from um, microbiology, if I'm not wrong, to data science. I've had a number of that. Um, but I would always advise you when you're going for your master's, do something that comes easy to you, do something that you have a passion for. Don't look first at what everybody says in that, this country is known for this, because students that I've helped who have gone after their passion, it is much easier to get jobs. So that's not why we're here. So then obviously there's the graduate route. With the UK, the financials, like I said, within London is much more expensive by at least £300 than outside London. So that has to be shown. You can also work 20 hours per week during school hours. Now, another benefit of the UK, like Canada, is there's no physical interview. But we would always hear things like, except for circumstances determined by the embassy. But I probably heard one of that in the last 10 years. All right, next slide, please. So what does a winning application look like? I would always advise my students, that no matter what your intentions are, we're in a Japa era, and we are saying we want to leave Nigeria for different reasons. One of it has to be that you really want to go learn, like you want to go do a master's or a program that's going to help you, because why spend all that money, right? Um, Another thing that we talk about is that when I get to this place, I want to be able to build and have a new life. And so when I say that studying abroad is like Planned Parenthood, is that it's not just that a woman gets to carry a baby, is that you are responsible for feeding, you're responsible for the health of that child, you're responsible for the child going to school. More importantly, in this generation, we're saying you don't want the child to do something that's going to harm themselves. This is how you must look at your study abroad application, is that if I do this program for 1 year, what are my strategies for settling down? What are the policies that will likely happen? What is the shift that happens in the country I go to? Now, these things are much more important than even getting your visa. And you have to be able to tell this story when you are discussing with the school or you are discussing with the visa officer through your LOI. So you've got to explain why this program, why this school, why now, what are you looking for? This story is unique to you. I always tell students, there's hardly any story that is similar. It can have the same things, generic stuff. So if there's an association of us who have, parents who studied law and the medicine, and then we are following that family tree. Yes, those are similar stories, but there'll still be different things, right? From the school you went to, right? The experiences, all those things have to be unique to you, right? Proof of funds, being able to show where the funds came from, that also has a story. A school that matches your profile, either it matches what your finances are, it matches the zone or the area you want to be in. I know that Canada has this agricultural pilot scheme. So there's certain areas in certain provinces that I want to go if I'm doing anything related to agri, or I want to go into something that is agriculture focused after my program. You know, this is the kind of research that we do when we're helping our students. Obviously, the motivated ties to your home country. Uh, what are you coming back to do here? Um, do you have family, property, a job waiting for you? Those things help. So expert application strategy. How do you put these things together? How do you make your arguments? Again, any question that the visa officer has, does your LOI already answer that question? Next slide, please. So, how do we help? I've always said in any of my videos or where people speak or my podcast that for us, we're looking to be part of your story, right? We want to get to know you because I don't believe personally that I'm going to be able to help everybody. But I would always say that I feel blessed to be able to help the many I've helped. So a consultation helps us to have a conversation about who you are and what you want to do and how we think we can help. We don't always have to agree with our students, but we would always say, like doctors, the hope is that our students will listen to us based on our track record. The personality tests would also help you where you have um, where things are not clear to you. Where you have to make a decision about the program, the country you are going to. That is necessary. Then obviously, what schools do we select? It could be based on your budget. It could be based on what you need for funding. Then obviously admission, we help you with that process. Visa strategies, we help you with that. Things you need to put together. And then by God's grace, obviously your approval. Next slide. So, it's not everybody that gets to boast of things like this. Um, so for us, we're able to say that we got not just a Nigerian's visa in this period of time, is that we can say we got a Ghanaian, who reached out to us in a short period of time. So basically, she found us. We had a consultation, we matched schools, we had a visa session, we built the, the system, and obviously the student submitted and got an approval. Pretty straightforward process. I think my record for Nigeria is 4 days, and 7 days. I would not tell any lie. The Nigerian Student Express and GIC were my best friends then. We still have the GIC, but it was pretty straightforward because when students have all the documents you need, it's a pretty straightforward process. But yeah, this is our most recent success story. Oh, okay. So Isaac is reminding me that it's 3 days. It's 3 days, not 4 days. Yes, it's 3 days. That's good. So I mean, for me here, I want to be part of people's stories. So if you're hearing me speak and you have interest to go abroad this year or next year, you will be part of our next success story if you work with us. The next slide. The Q&A. Let's answer your questions. Let's discuss, and let's take the next steps. Thank you guys for being here. Over to you, Isaac.
All right, thank you so much, KOJ for short, King of Japa. We call him KOJ for short. Thank you so much for that very insightful session. You kept it very apt and very true. Please, it's time for questions and answers. I know some of you already came with your questions even before the webinar began, because I'm sure you saw King of Japa, so you know that he's well loaded and you already have your questions. So please, you can already see in the chat box where we already have our contact there, but please, you can now send in your questions in the chat box, and the King of Japa is here to respond. Please, just like he said, if you're ready, between now and next year, between 2026 and 2027, we are here for you. The general intake is already open for most schools across Canada, UK, and even in the EU, right? So you have the opportunity now to speak with our advisors. You can also hear directly from King of Japa. Let me tell you this for free. You might have to pay for the next section to meet with him and speak with him. So it's very important that you ask your questions now. Okay, Jotam Holmes, I can see your hands are up. Please, can you um, um, type your questions? Or I have two hands up right now. All right. I'll start with Jotam Holmes. Oh, three hands up.
All right, good morning. Can I speak now?
Yes, please, you can go ahead.
All right, good morning, and thank you to King J. I would really want to say thank you so much for this insightful webinar. It's been very helpful. So, not to bore you, I would just like to go straight to my question. So, my question is, my pathway is actually Canada, and there's a bit of research that I've done regarding my course, and a big thing for me has always been the letter of intent, like you rightly said, and trying to pursue a particular master's, and it's not actually aligning with what you have initially done. So what I'm trying to say here is I studied radiography as my first degree, and I've been making researches, you understand, on okay, what part do I want to actually do a master's in. Then I discovered that the masters are divided into about two different types. There's one that is quite very research intensive, and the other one which is quite how do I put it, coursework. Let me use the word coursework. So, and from what I have seen, a lot of courses that I've seen are not really directly aligning to what I really want to do. I was looking at a master's in like a specialization in computed tomography, which is under radiography, and I decided that, oh, okay, fine. If this doesn't work, then maybe I could put in for a health management related course, but I wouldn't know if that would work well with my letter of intent or not. That's been my concern. Although I can still, because in radiography, of course, it's quite of an entrepreneurship pathway. So I could always say, okay, my letter of intent could say, oh, okay, I want to get the management part of it. So I could start up back home here. That's like coming, having a tie with my home country and all of that. I've been considering that as well. But I just wanted clarity if there are other schools, although I've made my research a whole lot. And I don't know if that could possibly be answered. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My concern with taking public consultation is that I need to have a bit of more backstory to be able to give you good advice. Your LOI is basically like is like a shortened university report, right? Basically, you're trying to explain everything to a visa officer. And dare I say that, like a university report, you're just trying to get an A, right? Most of us, particularly in Nigeria, when I did my first degree, I designed an automated traffic light. And I did a lot of work, I did a lot of data. I never built that traffic light though. For different reasons. So there is first the opportunity, and then there is the reality. So for your interest, the question would be, what can I sell to the visa officer that allows them to trust me? That's really what the focus has to be. So if I'm doing a course that either Canada is one of the few countries that has it, or I want to be able to come back to Nigeria and help or work in this lab and that lab, then it's an easy sell. But you don't want to make the matter as complex as you just explained it to me. You want it to be as simple as possible. So what did you do in your secondary school? What did you do in your university first degree? What has been your work experience, right? Then the question is, before even the course, is why Canada, right? Why have you picked Canada? So if you tell them why you picked Canada, then you're explaining why you have, you have picked that course in a lot more interesting manner. So if you want us to have you as a case study publicly, it's fine, but you will need to answer for me your first degree and what you have done, how many years post that first degree, right? And then what admission have you already secured in Canada? Can you hear me? Looks like you're muted.
Okay, so you please can you come again? Your question.
So what did you study in your first degree?
Okay, I'm radiography.
Okay. And how many years post your first degree now?
2 years.
Have you worked in radiography in that period?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So that's what is, it's a simple continuum. Now, do you already have an admission in Canada, or you are just considering? Can you hear me? You're muted again. I think you can leave your mic unmuted.
Okay, no, I don't have an admission yet. I'm
Okay,
just
great.
considering for next year, 2027.
Great. So generally, for either a postgrad diploma certificate or a master's, because postgrads are either a postgraduate diploma, a postgraduate certificate, or a master's degree. That's actually what it is, right? If you are doing a master's, you're either doing coursework, project work, or research work. So if you want to go into the academia side of things, then I'm selling to the visa officer that I'm doing a master's in this course because I possibly want to go into project building. I want to go into academic work. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. That's what a master's is actually set for, right? And part of that story could be that I'm doing this master's so I can come back to my home country and, become a lecturer or work in this industry or that industry. Then there's the postgraduate diploma certificates, which are basically, they are either helping you to scale up or they are helping to prepare you in the certificate side to become a professional in that skill. So you could say, for 2 years in Nigeria, I have become a radiology professional, right? But I have wondered if this is the best of what it is, right? And I feel like I need more exposure to be able to upgrade myself and help XYZ or to come back and contribute, just because, again, as big as Nigeria is, we all know that there's still a lot to develop. There's still a lot to improve on, right? And that is exactly what you can sell to the visa officer. So for you, sir, it depends on what the process is, right? If you reach out to us in that period, you're basically going to be answering these questions in the determination of what school that you're going to, right? Because the school will determine the cost, in the sense of, if it's a master's, maybe there are only 4 schools that have it, right? And in that 4 schools, only 2 meet your tuition range, right? Then we are now able to answer more questions. Another thing that you can come with, if, for instance, when resource is not a problem, maybe you say, oh, my sponsor, or I can afford to do anything, is then what program has the best radiology program, right? Costs. Like, when I say program, usually they are medical programs or science programs within the university. So which university has the best program, right? And so radiology is best taken in this particular area because I'm going to get exposure to this hospital or this diagnostic center. And that's why I've picked that particular program. So your story is going to be dependent on what exactly you want to do. And this is basically how you frame that. So I hope I've answered your question in a way where you understand that it's something that has to be planned. Did I answer your question well, sir?
Yes, please, you have. Thank you so very much. I would have to reach out actually, so I would
Yes,
ask further questions.
certainly, certainly. And obviously, you know that for postgrad, so in Canada, for instance, if you have a 2-2, getting a master's is very, very difficult, right? It's not impossible, but very, very difficult, right? So part of that conversation also is, what did I score in my first degree? The second and the most problematic thing for Nigerians is that in Nigeria, our grades vary. The embassy and schools in Canada hold Covenant University, for instance, in a different way that they probably even hold my own alma mater, Leeds City University, because Covenant is currently one of the best schools in Africa, right? They also hold Unilag in a different way. They would hold maybe Unizik, right? So all these are parts of the conversation that you have in my team, in us being able to determine the best course of action, right? So please feel free to reach out to us. You already have a clear path. You've studied radiology in your first degree, you're working in radiology. It's now either, do I want to have, maybe at my master's level, I want to specialize in something within radiology. Then who has this particular course? Does it meet my requirements? Do I need funding? When do I start? And things like that. I want to believe that our next masterclass next month, I'm talking about scholarships, because the scholarship season starts August, September for next year, right? So talking about funding across different countries and things like that. So thank you for that question. We look forward to, I didn't get your name because I'm seeing Jotam Holmes. We look
Okay, my
forward
name is
to,
yeah, my name is
sir?
Ayo, and I said my name is Ayo, and I believe I should be getting an alma mater discount.
You went to Leeds City?
Yes, please.
Ironio. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. So please text any of them text any
All
of my
right.
team members, and I'll look forward to. I just helped the lead city person not long ago. It's always very exciting. Yes, it's always very exciting. Thank you. Thank you,
I
sir.
appreciate it.
Let me quickly allow Toby. Is Toby next, Isaac? I'm seeing that Toby's next
Yeah,
on my
Toby's
screen
next.
with his
Toby's
hand
next.
up.
Yeah, Toby's next.
Toby, can you unmute and speak to us?
Thank you very much, sir. Good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you, sir. I'm
Yeah,
good. I'm good.
yeah. Thank you, King of Japa. So let me just give a little bit of my background. I read law. I finished from University of Lagos. But the issue now is that I didn't finish with a good grade. And thank God you brought it up. I finished with the third class. I went to Nigerian law school. I tried to be better. I finished with the second class upper. So I I spent, let's say, 2 years in practice as a with litigation. And just this year, I started working in a startup as an in-house legal officer. One of the things I also intend to achieve this year is also get what they call it, a certification regarding a certain area of compliance. You understand? So, but the issue now is that I have someone who can sponsor me and also accommodate me in the UK. But also one of the issues is that she already mentioned that, oh, most of the people that get jobs easily are people in the healthcare, people in the care work, what they can say, they call them, I can't remember. That should just switch to your cousin babies, which I don't have the desire or passion for, just like you stated. It's something you need to. So, but I don't intend to go through the process of doing law. I tend to focus on compliance. It's broad. You understand? It really takes space. Even the healthcare sector, there are people that specialize in compliance, their data privacy, MLCFT, the banking sector. So, but the issue is that I prefer Canada, considering the fact, correct me if I'm wrong, there seems to be like relatively a more direct pathway or a shorter pathway to pay out, and I be wrong, and also getting citizenship. However, what advice I've got, is, of course, not for professionals, though, is that okay, why don't you just do your masters in the UK? You got, you don't bother much about accommodation, feeding, or paying loans. Of course, I tend to pay her back, but the pressure will be different
Yeah.
because it's from a family member. Then maybe after
Yeah.
that, I've seen videos of people that is schooled in UK. Then during their session, they're going for job fairs or that country. That's why they can migrate immediately after they are done. Then so that's my
Yeah.
intention. So should I just probably convince her? Okay, let me just go start with Canada straight up, or you would advise I start from UK then go to Canada? And also, lastly, to what extent does my grade, either I think the first class in uni, but it's one in law school? What you have to do PGD? What role does it play? Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you thank you, Toby, for what I would say is the courage to ask your question.
Yeah.
Let me answer with the last thing you said. The grade would be a challenge for you going
Yeah.
into an admission cycle.
Yeah.
The UK offers us what I would call a way out, right? It's not an easy way out, but it's a way out, right? So I wish I had a sibling like this at that age, who would have helped me. Even though, as much as I'm the king of Japa, people know me that I'm not interested in running away. It's just that it does not make sense to say king of Japada. I believe strongly that Nigerians need to go abroad, and the knowledge we get over a period will come back to help us. Um, Mobility there has to be freedom. But that's not why we're having this conversation, right? I think that going to the UK would be your best bet, just based on my many years of experience. It's a sacrifice you have to make. The master's degree does put you in a different pedestal than going to Canada, right? The other reality is that when you are going to apply for a UK or Canada visa, for someone like me, I will say I can close my hand, you're getting your visa for UK. I can't say that for Canada. Thirdly, your sister may not be as willing to meet the Canadian requirements as the UK requirements, because trust me, it's two very different things, right? So for Canada, you have to show money for 6 months. The UK, right, except you are very wealthy, the amount of money that is required that you need to show may not be readily available. So it's already begins to give you a bit of headache. But just like you rightly said, you can go into the Canadian system, the UK system, and whilst you're in school, begin to take internships, take jobs, it will give you exposure into the market. Another thing you must understand is that when you have a master's abroad, mobility is a lot easier. What do I mean? That means that you can now get jobs within any space, within the EU, like you can move anywhere. What limits us is our thinking that we want the sure thing, which is, again, for me, what I want to be part of stories. I shot a video this week where I said, at least 100,000 Nigerians into Japa every year. And if we follow what China has done over the last 40 years, 80% of us eventually need to come back and build what is the China of today everybody is going to, the Nigeria of tomorrow, right? So sometimes you need to take that risk of, look, if I do well in this program, I can work for any country. I have a friend working in Estonia. You'll be wondering, how I go to Estonia? There are at least 2 unicorns in Estonia, if I'm not wrong today. That's billion-dollar companies. Isaac, can you remember? It's one particularly that I don't want to mix it. It's not. Spotify is in which country? I know that there's Spotify in that region. There is.
I think it's Sweden.
There's one popular. Spotify is Sweden, right? There's one popular one in Estonia I used recently. So, like, the biggest companies are spread across, right? Estonia, Norway, Sweden. That area has a lot of innovation. So I'll be limiting myself to say, oh, I just want to go to Canada. Because Canada comes with its own difficulties. So, Toby, to answer your question, I would advise you take that God-graced opportunity of, I have a sister who has a house, who's going to pay. Let me get the best education. In that time, I furnish myself, I furnish my LinkedIn, I'm taking internships. Since I'm not even worried about paying for anything, I can be taking internships for free. One of the things I used to tell my students when I do counseling, just generally outside of my businesses, is many years ago, for many years, I took opportunities for free. It opens doors for you. It allows you to meet people. It allows you to show your worth. And when you show your worth, when you are done with your masters, you will not even need to apply. Where you have done well, they will say, Toby, please, when are you finishing masters? This is the offer waiting for you. And I've seen this happen to my students abroad and Nigeria over and over again. So, Toby, if you're asking me, I would say go with that way. Get your masters. It also changes that story of what my first degree is if I go there and I come out with a distinction. Now, it's not going to be easy because I'll tell you for free that when you leave Nigeria to go to any country, particularly Europe, the way we write here is completely different. So you're going to have to learn how to write their way, how to reset their way, all those things. But at least it sets you up to have that degree. Now you go to Canada, you're going to want to do a 2-year program. It's going to cost you more because there is no family in Canada that is accommodating you. The tuition is going to cost more because it's 2 years. By the time you appropriate the 2 years to the 1 year in the UK. So this would be my advice to you, Toby, as a brother, just based on what I've also seen over and again. I had a student here. He had gotten admission to data or computer, and I was like, look, how are you doing this? You already have a business in Nigeria. You love doing this thing. Just go and do it. And the person was like, it's not a popular course. And in fact, we just did a video on Nigeria to the World where we're talking about that particular course, supply chain and logistics. It's the most used course, it's the most used service on a day-to-day now, particularly in our digital revolution age. And today he's changing jobs in the UK like anything because he understood the system, right? You do the right course that when you are in an interview, even if the company has this, we always feel like companies have this policy in the UK particularly where it's like, we take our white people before we take the black people. Some of those things are true, but there's no company that is not thinking of its bottom line. So as I know I'm a star by God's grace. If I go to any company, you need me. It's not just the spiritual prayer that my mother has prayed on me. It's like, you need my brain. So there's no the UK company that is first saying that, before I take a black person, let me just take a white person because of, no. Whilst that can exist, everybody is thinking of their bottom line, right? And so that myth is also defeated by the amount of Nigerians that are doing well as academics, medical, like with everywhere. So put yourself in the right space. What we generally in Nigeria call ourselves, we say packaging. Package yourself well. Learn to speak the way they speak, learn to write the way they write, understand their system. When you leave Nigeria, and again, sorry, Isaac, because this is not what this webinar was before, there's a different conversation on how to package yourself. There are a lot of our bad behaviors that you need to leave at MM2, say MM2 or MMIA. You leave it at the international airport with the customer officer. When you get there, it's a different package. The way you speak, the way you are brought up here does not apply in that place. The white man respects a confident person. The black man will call a confident person a disrespectful person. Again, let me not talk too much. Toby, I hope I've answered your question. We'll get to... Toby, did I answer your question properly? Toby is no longer here. I'm seeing him, but he's muted. Toby, did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I just got unmuted. Yeah, thank you. So
okay, great.
I'll reach out to your team.
So reach out to our team. Let's find you. Yes. Another thing that we can do to further have this conversation, I would always say, is we also bring in, like the Ghana testimonial yourself. We involve someone like your sister. You have conversations with her, with our team. It helps us to make the right decision, so that if we are telling her what is required in Canada, she's okay, Toby, I'll do it for you. If Canada is the best, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's fine. But trust me, like I've said in my experience, we do a 1-year master's, you hit the ground running. Obviously, there's no NYS. So like, as I'm finishing my 1-year master's, I finish my project work, I'm getting a job. I begin to save. If I'm young, I can move anywhere. That's the other beauty of masters abroad. Mobility is easy. You can get a job that moves you. In Canada today, as a citizen, there are at least, I think, 20 or 30 countries you can move in for 6 months as a youth. Just go there. The country is going to give you a visa. It's not about whether you have a job or not, So these are the things that are available to you. And having a master's gives you a different thing, a different exposure, So thank you, Toby. Olabi Precious. I'm sorry, guys, if we're taking your time. It's why we do it on Saturday. We also say that these are conversations. They are live conversations, right? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. So I have a few questions, about 3 of them. So the first one is concerning scholarship. So, but you mentioned that it's going to be next week. Nevertheless, I want to mention the fact that I've been able to do some of those things that are required, because based on what I researched about Canada, I was able to know that, okay, before you even apply at all, you need to have a prospective supervisor and all like that. So I've been able to coordinate close to 50 supervisors in different schools. All right. So then number 2 is the funding of account. Like you said 6 months before application, and you said that the application is like a pregnancy period, like 9 months. So with that now, it means we have 6 months before application plus. Does it mean that we have 6 months before application plus the 9 months which the application will actually cover, or just 6 months after you must have gained the admission and not like that? That's the second one. And then how were you able to secure the visa permits that you mentioned in the testimonial, like the 7 days, 4 days, and all? Is it that the student already did the application, got the admission, had the admission letter and all like that? What you just did under that short period of time was the visa approval and all like that? And then lastly,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then lastly,
I hope I won't
for
forget.
you to be able to,
Go ahead.
okay, for you to be able to achieve that in short period of time, does it mean that you have affiliation with the schools already? If that the students, I mean, if all was done, everything, application, everything, visa approval, permit, and everything was done in that short period of time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Precious. Yes, currently we have over 150 partners across the Big Four and other countries. So yes, we have that. We also have relationships with consulates. I just don't like to post a lot of stuff. I generally tend to be in a lot of conversations with the embassies. I meet the consul generals, the heads of commercial departments that have to do with study visas. So yes, we have those relationships. How did we secure the visa? No, so just like studying abroad being Planned Parenthood, the visa process after submission generally takes 6 to 12 weeks sometimes. Now, embassies generally would update and upgrade their platforms to tell you how long it's taking, if they've have made some changes in their IMM forms and things like that. So what we count is after submission. So if I submit your visa today, how many days did it take for the visa officer to give you, a request to come submit your passport or come pick up your passport, things like that. So that's what we're referring to as we've done 3 days, 4 days, 7 days, now 11 days. Now, to go to the question of Planned Parenthood and things like that. So again, why do I use Planned Parenthood? These things are in different trimesters, as it were. So this is July. If you wanted to get into any country next year, September, right? We are currently within a 9 to 12 month window of when scholarships are given and decided. This first window now that you are in is the window of research, right? What schools do I want to go to? What advisors do I want to reach out to? Possibly, where can I get jobs? That's the first 3 months, right? And then you begin to send emails to these professors, reach out to the school, submit applications. The next 3 months is the admission and funding, processes. You submit an admission, you fill the scholarship forms, you have interviews where necessary, professors are replying you and things like that. And the last 3 months, you generally get an admission, you get your funding responses, and then you apply for your visa. So that's basically how we break these things down. Whether there is visa involved, so whether there is scholarship involved or not, it's still a similar process. Because if you were doing the September 2027 intake, September is the global intake. January, May are just addendum, they are additional intakes. So whilst we can do this process in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, we generally say that, like Planned Parenthood, in that you are planning for the process. So if you were going to Canada now, you need 6-month bank statements. That's already a period that factors into your planning, So that's the explanation to what I mean when I say that. So if you are looking to apply now, and I think your first question, if I got that, was scholarships, you already reached out to a number of people, is that now you are basically saying to yourself, I want to go in for next year, September. This is the time I'm doing that research. I'm looking at the schools that have funding. I'm looking at the schools that obviously have the courses I'm interested in, the professors that are already working in the sector or my course interest or project interest. And then I begin to explain to them my interests, what I've been doing, how you think you can contribute to their team and things like that. This is the period for that, and then you apply, you get an admission, you follow up with the professor, you get a scholarship or funding opportunities, either you become a graduate assistant or a research assistant. So that's basically that, Precious. I think I've answered your 4 questions.
Okay, sir. Yes, thank you so much, sir. The aspect of funding your account, how does that take place? Like, does it mean that, for instance, now we both know that, let's say I'm not going to be going through the scholarship route. We know that, okay, oh, this money is so much that, okay, maybe myself I don't have the capacity to actually have this money. So the account we're talking about now, is it that I will have an account opened and somebody will be funding it, or I'll tell somebody that, okay, oh, this is what I want to do, and we'll agree, and the person starts funding it for me, or how does it work, sir?
Yes, it's on a case-by-case basis. My advice would be, once you know what you want to do, is to have a session with one of my team members. Once you know where you're going, it's a case-by-case basis. It's not something that I can answer in a generic way so that people do not misconstrue. So take the next step of reaching out to the team and then we can take all these things on a case-by-case basis as it pertains to you. I want to answer a question that I saw in the chat box before I call on Oladoyin. It says, "Good morning, KOJ. Thank you for your time." So I like this question because I had a sister from Enugu who I helped. She's not a sister. They're now in Canada. She was about this age with 6 children. So yes, it's possible. Just to answer your question, she also was in the bank. I think she was in Fidelity Bank at that time. But she went to Canada. So yes. Yes, so Canada would be the easy question. I hope the person that asked the question is still in the call because it says iPhone. I'm not sure. But yes, so she went to Canada. She went to do a master's, and she already had done a master's here as well in, I think, Unilag or something. And she was in the bank. So it's certainly possible, Maosa. I'm assuming that it's a lady, just off the top of my head, if you want to unmute. But yes, so reach out to us. And we're happy to guide you through this process. It's not an easy process, particularly if you're going with your children. She was going with 6 children, the amount of money you need to be able to apply. If you are going with the children, or if you want to go first and then children join you later. I've had multiple of people like this. Some people have gone with the family. Some people went alone first, then brought the family afterwards. Again, the policies 3-4 years ago, even 2 years ago, were much easier than what it is now. But I always tell people that one of the most important parts of Canada's immigration law is that families are kept together. So Canada does not want your family separated, but they need to know that you have the finances to take care of yourself. But that's, again, not the essence of this conversation. So we would be talking more on those study visas. So please reach out to us. If you want to raise your hand and ask more questions, feel free. Or, I mean, my number is open source, or you want to reach out to any of our team members, please do. But yes, you can certainly go to Canada with what you have sent in the message box. Oladoyin Lawal.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Morning.
Yes. Okay, so my situation is I have a BSc in biochemistry and I graduated in 2024 and I did my NYC last year, 2025. But I have not had a job since this year and my dad's going to be my sponsor. So I want to do a diploma in biotechnology. I thought of a diploma because, one, the master's is a lot more expensive from what I've seen. And two, the diploma is more practical. They do a lot more like practical stuff than just like course-based things. And to leave that story aside, I wanted to ask if that would be possible because like I've heard that it can be seen as academic regression because I'm going from a BSc to a diploma. I already found a course in Centennial College that is a fast track, so it already requires me to have a BSc. But I just wanted to know if like that can affect my visa results because I've heard that it can be seen as a regression.
Yes. I don't think everything can be seen as a regression, right? It's some people have multiple undergrad programs, multiple master's programs, multiple PhD programs. So it just depends on how you submit your application. I did one undergrad, but I'm currently doing what is my 3rd postgrad now, right? Some of us just like book. So there's nothing wrong in that. I think it's really how you explain your case to the visa officer. That's usually the most important thing. Particularly if you are young. Let me also tell you something funny I tell people. I entered university, I think I think I turned 16 at the time. Because of the time schools, resume in September, October. But I entered at 16. I graduated. I finished school by 19. I had not even clocked 20 by that time. In Canada and America, the average age they want you to go into school is 2021. So it's a myth for us. We think that it's a bad thing. We think that we are behind. For them, it's not the same case. In fact, they don't believe that you should be at 16 when you're entering school here for university. They think you should still be in high school. Life has not started. Why are you rushing? So don't bother yourself about those things. Bother yourself about how you put your application together. Bother yourself about making sure that you pick the right course. Bother yourself about making sure that you have the finance. And then ultimately that you are putting your visa documents, you strategize it in the right way, where the visa officer is not worried. Rather, the person understands why you are going to do that course and supports that. So that would be the simple response to that. It's a pretty straightforward one. I'm assuming you're still below 24.
Yes. Okay. Yes, and
So
that
it's
leads
pretty
me
straightforward.
to my other question, sir, please. Because I'm
Go ahead.
22 and I plan to apply next year. I'll be 23 next year. And I don't have home ties because like I don't have a job at the moment. I don't have a spouse or a kid or properties or anything like that. So I don't know what exactly I can use as home ties.
Generally, as a salesperson, I would say you should reach out to us and pay us a service. We'll help you with that. But I think that in my many years of experience, the home ties story is different for undergrad than postgrad.
Okay.
I don't want to say more than that because I was like, my team will be texting me that I'm giving away my trade secrets. But undergrad is already correct. They're already texting me. So it's different for undergrad. You won't have that same problem, Oladoyin, right? At that age and for what you are going for, you will not have that problem. So what I would advise is Sentinel is a partner school. Just reach out to us, right? We can apply to a number of schools in Canada even for free. Like the admission processes are pretty cheap, but a lot of them are partner schools, right? And then we can have those conversations on how to put things together. But at undergrad level, you won't have too much of those problems for home guys. Their concern would largely be focused on finance. Again, I don't like saying it in the public so that people don't misconstrue me and then say it's KOJ that said no. The essence of the service itself being available is that you do things the right way. It's not that you hear what I say and then you say you listen to me and that's what. No. So, I don't know if I've answered your question properly.
Yes, you have. Thank you
Good.
so much.
So you won't have that same problem. So long, who is sponsoring you? You say your dad, right?
Yes, my dad is sponsoring.
I don't know. So that's already home tie now.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You won't have that problem. Just reach out to us and we'll be happy to assist with that. I like easy cases like this. It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doyin, for your question. I look forward to meeting you and hearing more from you. I'm seeing my mother's namesake, Irene Bukola. How can I help you?
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Ma.
Okay. Actually, this is not my first contact with Ile. Is it Ile Education?
Ile.
Sometime last year I reached out.
Yeah, your Japa
I reached
partners.
out. Yes, I reached out last year concerning funding for UK. So currently now, and as of last year, I probably didn't have like a deposit. So right now, I'm looking forward to like a September intake. But what I have right now as funding is just for like a deposit, and a deposit of like maybe 4K, like £4,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, let me ask what is possible. That's what, because currently now, although I owed offers for Adding University and ULO. So what is still possible for September intake for UK right now? I have a 2.2 in mass communication, 3.43 CGPA, 3.43 CGPA, and I have like 5.2, 6 years working experience in administrative roles. So like the offers I have at Adding and ULaw, University of Law, are for MSc Project Management.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to possible transitioning. I was going to ask a question about transitioning from UK to like Canada, but I think you've touched on those areas in previous questions asked earlier on. Because I was looking, I currently have like a child, like family, growing family, and because of the fact that UK doesn't for MSc courses, and I don't want to do Emirates.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, like, what would you advise someone looking to transition to like Canada? Is it still advisable with this age and time? But I think you've given it like some bit of answer on that. Like I think the person who asked first. So my question now is, what's possible right now for September, October intake?
So, yes, thank you for your question. So, mm, the decision to go to Canada has to be based on meeting the requirements, right? So I want to go to Canada because I can get PR and a passport within 10 years. Great. What are the requirements? Now, in this particular case, unlike the UK, Canada would allow your family to come. So the question then becomes, can I afford this financial requirement? The second thing is, do I meet the admission requirement? So that's to answer that question. So again, this is something that I prefer we have one-on-one, but just because I'm answering some of these questions, because like you said, similar questions will come up that would allow people to be able to make a decision. But ultimately, the first step is that this matter is a one-on-one matter. Everybody's case is, their realities differ. So going
Yes,
to
sir.
Canada will be based on meeting financial and admission requirements. If you already
Very
have an
true, sir.
admission with Adin University and UNLaw, obviously you know that means you are going alone. You can't go with your family except you are doing
Yes,
a
sir.
research
Yes,
program.
sir.
So if you are not going with your, if you are okay to leave your family here, we can talk about UK,
Yes.
right? With Adin
Yes, sir.
University, our partnership with them allows. We even have a new scholarship that we're able to give Nigerian students based on our relationship with Adin University. So that works. But if you are going with your family, then the conversation has to be Canada and other countries that allows for that if you're not doing research in UK. So it's a pretty straightforward thing. You just have to make a decision. Now, the one-on-one side is
No,
now when we begin to talk about your finances.
sir.
Okay, how much do you have? Can you meet this requirement?
Okay.
Can you meet that requirement? And things like that. Then obviously
Okay.
admission. Oh, what's your grade? What schools do we have in Canada? Can you meet this requirement? Can you meet that requirement? Understanding also that it's not all programs in Canada allows you to bring your family. So you also have to qualify on admission requirement. Does that make sense
Okay.
to you, ma? Yes.
Yeah, please. Okay, so now it's not like I'm wondering if I want UK or Canada, right? I've made up my mind because I know that the finances I have, and because of the fact that I don't have like finances for a 6 months proof of fund, so if
For
it's something
funds,
I can,
yes.
yeah,
So
if
it's
something I
UK that you're
can,
going to.
yes,
Great.
yes, I've accepted that it is UK. So
UK.
I'm
Great.
asking, what's possible? Is it possible I can have your team is it support I'll say or like handling
Certainly.
the for
Certainly.
this September? Okay,
Yes.
September and
You still have
October.
time. If you have the documents, certainly. We still have about 6 weeks, so certainly. If you have the documents, you meet the requirements, we can do that
Okay,
now.
although I don't have okay, I think this is like maybe internal information later. Maybe I'll reach out to
Exactly.
your team
Yes.
because
So reach out to the
okay,
team. I believe either Cynthia or Laulua, they will be able to walk you through the processing side before it goes to the visa side of things.
oh,
Chinelo
okay.
is one on the call as well.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, man. Awesome to connect. I look forward to be part of your story. Yeah. Damilare Josiah. Two very interesting names. Damilare is my namesake. Josiah is an interesting Bible figure. Go ahead, Damilare.
All right, thank you. Actually, I'm very sorry I came late. I almost forgotten that I have a meeting to attend. But what I want to ask, I'm a theologian, and in my
Uh,
certificate, I have 2 1. And
okay.
more the challenges I've been asked questions from most of the agents, and like this, they are saying that they don't really understand the certificate of theology.
Yeah.
Actually, I finished at the Nigeria Baptist Theological Seminar, Ogbomoso, and
Uh,
I've
okay.
been looking for a way to travel out. And what are the some courses I can rush into? Motivationally, my interest is in UK, and the reason
Okay.
being that my fiance is presently in UK, and I want to go and join her. So I need some advice. So what do I need to do, and how can I get the admission? What are the necessary courses that I can do that will allow me motivationally? I need the research. I want to do a research course. That's what I want
Okay.
because I'm an
Yeah.
academian.
Okay.
That's
So
my focus.
yes. So your only step for this question is to book a consult. A consult generally for us means that you send us your documents and then we take a look at your information, and based on that research, we will then be able to, propose the options for you. It's not a question that I can answer off the top of my head. I'll be wrong to do that. So my advice would be to send your documents to the team, schedule a consult. They will take a look at what is possible for you, and then we will then be able to tell you this is what's available, this is what's possible. That's the counsel I can give, sir. All right. I did doing to you ask a question. Okay, no. Zoom user says I have a brother who graduated with third class and I like to ask you. Yes, yes, definitely. Certainly. You can get into Canada with the diploma with a third class. That's possible. So feel free to reach out to us. Adedoyin Toyosi says, good morning, KOJ. Thanks for the opportunity. As HND in this, I look forward to in Netherlands or Canada, which will be best option based on results. It's easier to get into Canada for diplomas than it is to get into the Netherlands. Also because the Netherlands programs are paid for. They're usually more expensive. Yes. Yes, you can also use passage loans for Canada. So yes. My team has already given me a hard cap. They say I've exhausted the agreed time with them. I hope I did justice to your questions. It was a pleasure to meet many of us. I look forward to being part of your stories. I have to yield the mic now to Isaac before they query me. Isaac, over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Kenny. You guys can see he was already in his element. He didn't even want to. He didn't want to stop. He didn't want to stop with the consults. But yes, thank you so much, King of Japa. Thank you for the answers and thank you for providing pathways and solutions to some of the questions that were dropped. Um, so yeah, we have come to an end of the general session of this masterclass. I hope we all had one or two things to learn. And thank you to everyone who dropped in their questions. Kindly reach out to, you can see on this in the chat box our contact details. You can reach out to us via email. You can check our website and book a consultation there. You can also come into our office. It's located in Ogba Multi-Purpose Complex. It's the mall in Ogba, in Ikeja, Lagos State. You can also follow us on, not even also, please follow us on Instagram. Check us out on Facebook as well. The handles are right there on in the chat box. So now we'll be moving to the breakout rooms and the breakout session where you get to meet. I'm sure some of us were too shy to speak publicly about some of our questions and like our other guests have. So please, you can join the breakout rooms where you can meet with our advisors. So those of us who have um, said they will reach out to us. You can also join the group breakout room as well. Our advisors will share their numbers or email. You can share your documents so we can begin your journey as well. So please give me a few seconds. I'll set up the breakout rooms and then you can join. Thank you. All right, so I'm sure we've all gotten the invites to the breakout rooms. You can now join either of the breakout rooms you are interested in. We already have our advisors waiting to receive your questions, and if you have your documents, like I said, you can join, and then our advisors will be there to answer your questions. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you, King of Japa, for your time. We really, really appreciate you. Please, if you're still on the call, you can join the breakout rooms. There are three breakout rooms, one for UK study visa inquiries, one for Canada, and then one for general admissions and scholarships. So please uh, select one and join. If you do not have interest in joining the breakout rooms and would like to reach out to us personally at a later time, our numbers and details, on the screen. You can reach out to us. Okay, I can see a question. Where's the link for the breakout room? So you would see a pop-up on your screen asking you to join a particular room. But please, you can just type in the chat box what um, country you're interested in, Canada, UK, or if you're looking at general admissions and scholarships as well, so that I can assign you to a room. All right, thank you. Assigning now.